Hello, are you a busy mum? Well, I want to talk to you just briefly about how I found life when I had young children, perhaps just like you. I was very fortunate in that we had enough of with just one salary that I was able to stay at home and look after my children. Sadly, my mother died before my children were born. I was actually 28 weeks pregnant with my first child. So we didn't really have anybody around us to help us to bring up our children. I did go back to work briefly between number one and number two, but it became really too expensive to send the children to childminders by the time we got to number three. And anyway, I really saw it as my job that I wanted to stay at home and bring up the children. But believe me, we did struggle for many years. I remember going to the shop and having to buy a pair of Start-Right shoes. And they were just so expensive. I'd never spent that kind of money on my pair of shoes, and let alone something that was about this big. But it was worth it because I now have children all in their 20s, and they are very lovely, very capable, very bright, and very accomplished young men and women. But what I did discover through all of this time was that although I liked being a mum, I also needed other things to do. I needed things to occupy my mind. So is that you? Are you the stay-at-home mum that actually says, well, this is all very well, but actually, do you know what? I'd like to do something that's rewarding and challenging. I want to feel that apart from my family, I've got a real purpose in life. That actually I'm making a significant difference every day to other people, perhaps. Or maybe you're not a stay-at-home mum, but maybe you've got a part-time or even a full-time job. And you're the mum that's actually busy, and I don't know how you do it, busy juggling all of the needs of your children with going to work, looking after the house, looking after your husband, and all those other things in between. I know what your days are like, and I see those people just like you, women who get a little bit stressed and who tend to actually think that they need to be superwoman. You're perhaps putting yourself at the bottom of the pile. Now, why do I see those women? Well, if that's you, sometimes you get a little bit burnt out. And those women come to me very often now for help and advice in terms of how to get their health back on track. You see, I'm a functional nutritionist and health coach, and my specialism is helping women just like you not only to live a happier and healthier life, but also to create a business around health. And this is why. I'd like to take you back to June 2011. My middle child, my son, had just come home from university. He'd actually been very poorly throughout the whole of the term from the January onwards. He'd missed quite a lot of lectures. And I hadn't seen him for quite a while, but when he came home, he was clearly very unwell. And on June the 9th, if you were with me, we're sitting in my car. It's okay, Matthew. We're going to be at the hospital really soon. Just try and relax. I know it's really scary, but we're only about 10 minutes away. The doctor's phoned ahead. I'm just going to drop you at the door. They're waiting for you, and then I'm going to go and park the car. Oh my God, should I have phoned an ambulance? I hope I don't have to stop the car and do a tracheotomy. I think I've got a metal pen in my bag, but I'm not sure. God, I just hope I'm going to get him there in time. Can you imagine what it's like to think about having to cut your own son's throat open so that he can breathe? Well, that was me. For the previous 2 weeks, I'd spent the whole time, it seems, either at the GP surgery, at the drop-in centre. He'd already been admitted once into hospital, had been given some antibiotics and some steroids and been sent home. Within 24 hours, he was back to where he'd started from. A week before, he'd stopped drinking. 2 days before he'd stopped eating, and his breath was coming more and more laboured, and he was talking like this. And I was really, really scared. I got him to hospital in time, but it was a further 24 hours before they diagnosed that my son had something called supraglottitis. So you have a little flap at the top of the windpipe, and if that swells, it cuts off the air supply to the windpipe. Dead boy. And I was within hours or minutes even of losing my son. Now, they eventually found out what was wrong with him, and yes, they patched him up and they kept him in hospital for 5 days. He couldn't work during his summer job that summer because he was too poorly. But he did go back to work to university in the October. But he got another throat infection 2 days after he arrived. Now, a week after that, I attended a health talk by one of the country's leading naturopaths and nutritionists. And she was talking about the importance of having a healthy liver. Now, I'd had a whole series of health problems leading up till this point, and that's a whole other story. And that really resonated with me. But the other thing she said was that a lot of people in the Western world also suffer with something called type B malnutrition. So we're a nation that's overfed but undernourished, either because we're choosing processed foods that are no longer nutrient dense because of the lack of minerals in our soil, but also because there are more and more people that are suffering with things called like leaky gut syndrome or irritable bowel syndrome. Now, this struck a real chord with me too, and after her talk I hightailed it up to her and I told her about my son and what had happened. And I said to her, you know, when he was in hospital, every time he went in, I kept saying to them, you know, my son has IBS. He was diagnosed at 10. And actually, he'd always had a really sensitive digestive system and intestinal system ever since he was a baby. But nobody listened to me. All they did was they gave him more antibiotics. They gave him more steroids. They gave him increasingly more and more painkillers. And they sent him home without ever really considering what was wrong with him. And I said, do you think this could be something to do with why my son got this disease? Because, you see, it's seen in the very elderly, frail, or the very young. But not in a 20-year-old, 6-foot, rugby-playing guy that works out, who's 15 stone. So I said to her, if this is related to his IBS, what can I do about it? And she said, Jill, you have got the opportunity to speak to all of the various luminaries in this room who are so experienced in terms of natural health solutions. There are people in here with 25 years experience that can help you to help your son. So that's what I did. I got to the best of the best, and we put a protocol together for my son Matthew, and within 4 weeks, my son was a different boy. Now here we are 2 or 3 years later, and he's in complete control of his symptoms and his health. I'm never ever going to be in that situation again with him. He came to me last summer and he said, Mum, I'm going to Thailand with my friend George. And, you know, obviously I've got to take care of myself. He's very susceptible to obviously more than you are. And you and I are to things like Delhi Belly. And he said, well, you know, can you help me put some things together so that I can avoid getting ill away? So that's what we did. We put him some probiotics and some enzymes and some silver to help with antibacterial, antifungal. And off he went. And he said, Mum, I must be the only 20-year-old that's taking drugs into Thailand. Now, what I discovered was that not only did I have the power to help my son, I also sorted my own health out. I lost weight. I actually decided that I was going to retire from the job that was making me really, really stressed and unhappy and depressed. And pursuing my own health right and that of my son, I've gone on now to create a business around being a functional nutritionist. And I have people coming to me every day who want my help, or coming back to me saying, thank you, my eczema rash has gone. I no longer have pain in my back. Wow, My IBS symptoms have gone away. Can you please help me with my menopausal symptoms? I don't want to go on HRT. Can you imagine how wonderful it is now to wake up every day and feel that you're not at work? Now, why am I telling you this? Because I wished when I was like you, when I had my young children, that I could have found this lifestyle that I now lead. One of passion and purpose. One where every day I can feel that I can make somebody else's life just that little bit better. And I'd like to help you to do the same thing. If you're interested in health, if you're interested in helping your own family and your friends around you, even if it's just that, then my big mission in life is to get this message out to more and more people. I can only help so many people at a time because I've only got so many hours in a day in a week. But if I could help you to help some people that you know, then that would make me really happy. And it would give you the lifestyle where you could actually choose to stay at home, to use all of the skills that you've developed all throughout your life, and to feel that you're living a life too of passion and purpose. So please do visit my website. There are opportunities on there for anybody who would like to come and work with me. And I look forward to hearing from you.